Alright, so picture this. It's 1942. You and your boys are on the wrong team in Germany, fighting the Allies. Which, if you're doing that, GG, bro. You already lost the skill issue lottery. One of your buddies gets smoked because he's on the wrong side of history, and he's bleeding out. He looks at you and says, "Bro, we need better guns." So naturally, you're fucking pissed, and you tell your boss, you're like, "Hey man, we just need fucking better guns." And he's like, yeah, you're right. So then he tells his boss, who tells his boss, who tells his boss, who tells his boss, which then gets all the way up to Hitler. And Hitler's like, nah, figure the fuck out. Because in Germany, in World War II, they had two basic weapon types. And the first one was the Kar 98K. Bolt action, internal 5-round magazine, great for distance, total pain in the ass up close. Then you have the MP40, which is great for that up close personal battles, but absolutely fucking folded at range, unless you're pew view, and you can shoot fucking anything over fucking 300 yards, apparently. Guy's a fucking monster. So German grunts are stuck between choosing a slow but accurate and or a fast but useless past like 50 yards. They need something that slaps at medium range. And in comes the STG44. German engineers get word that infantry are losing gunfights in the awkward, not quite close, but not quite far that medium range. And they're like, all right, time to build something absolutely fucking disgusting. So they start working on these prototypes. The MKB-42H and the MKB-42W. MKB stands for Machine Carbineer or Machine Carbine. H is Hanel, and then W is Walther, so the engineer's names. Now you might recognize that one name, Walther. Yeah, it is that Walther, Mr. fucking PPK himself. Not only was he like, all right, I'm gonna make a really badass pistol, but now I'm also gonna help engineer the fucking STG-44. Man's a fucking legend. Now, Germany's on fire, everything's exploding, and in walks Hugo Schmeiser. Somebody hands him the MKB-42, he mags dumps it, looks at the gun, looks at the engineers, then back at the gun, and goes, hold my beer, we're about to make this thing go fertile. Now, who is this guy, you might ask? That's a great fucking question. He's the man behind the MP-18, and also the fucking MP-40. Yeah, Hugo Schmeiser is a fucking G. He knows how to engineer some shit. With him leading the charge at the STG-44, Lord knows this thing's going to be pretty fucking cool. So what does he do? He dusts off some old gas operation ideas, stamps the whole thing out of sheet metal, and tunes the gas system to yeet ammo like it's your mom yeeting fucking dick. The problem is, Hitler doesn't like the idea at first. He's like, hey, I just don't think it's a great idea to build a whole new weapon with a whole new cartridge right in the middle of a fucking world war. So what the engineers did was change the name of the MKB to the MP-44 and MP-43 respectively, which means machine pistol, which this is not a fucking pistol at all. So a few prototypes of this machine pistol sent over to the Eastern Front. The guys that started using them are on an absolute fucking tear, calling in fucking dogs, mortar teams, all this fucking crazy shit. Then Hitler finally gets the feedback. He's like, all right, I want a fucking demo. He tries it. He shoots it. He's like, all right, fine. Print this motherfucker. So that's what they start doing. They start mass producing the STG-44. But how does it actually work? Well, that's a great question. So the STG-44 is chambered in 792 by 33 Kurs, an intermediate round between full-powered rifle and pistol ammo. It's a gas-operating tilting bolt rifle, which basically means when you fire, gas pushes the carrier back, the bolt tilts to unlock, moves rearward, kicks the casing out, then rams a new round in. Kind of like the AR-15, AK-47, shit like that. But with that being said, there's also a happy switch. This gun is semi-auto, slow, controlled, not bad. And then that's full auto. It runs 30-round curved magazine, so you get that semi-auto and full auto, slow, controlled pew, or I am the squad automatic now. Future Rifles took notes. It's largely made from stamped steel, which makes it faster and cheaper to mass produce. The 792 by 33 Kurs round has a much better recoil control than the full power 792 by 57 Mauser. but still hits hard in that 0 to 300 meters that the Germans wanted. Now let's talk about a couple of their attachments, which is actually kind of fucking hilarious. So they have an optic, which is the ZF4 4X. There's a scope on the side rail, turning it into an absolute proto DMR, think early tactical energy, German edition. Hashtag overengineering. Grenade launcher. Yes, this thing had a fucking noob tube. This also had a sling, so if you were kind of tired of carrying your STG44 around, you can sling it over your shoulder, call it a day. They also had a night vision rig, which is kind of fucked up for World War II. Like I said, German overengineering. It's a late war infrared setup, giant scope, backpack battery, full, sci-fi, but made it sad. Super rare, super clunky, barely used. And then the most cursed attachment of them all. The fucking curved barrel, also known as the Krumloff. The Krumloff was a barrel section you bolted into the STG-44 so you could literally shoot around corners. Bullets get forced through the bend, deform, sometimes break apart, loses a ton of velocity. Barrel wears out in a few hundred rounds. So for short range, it's basically a shotgun on methamphetamine, built by complete psychos who looked at physics and was like, yeah, we're not going to do that. So how about in combat? So by 1944, Germany started mass producing the STG-44, and the units that actually get it, especially on the Eastern Front, love it. Instead of the Kar 98K, where you are working the bolt like government fucking paperwork, write, stamp, file, repeat, and the MP40 that turns into a sad hose past 50 to 100 meters, the STG-44 gives you rifle accuracy at combat ranges and that SMG fire rate that everyone wanted. So squads get more automatic firepower at the individual level and rely slightly less on that one MG gunner 3 feet away from their fucking head rattling their goddamn eardrums. But it's not the magic win the war button, but it does birth an entire new class of weapons, the assault rifles. War was already turning against Germany at this point, and the logistics were a fucking nightmare. So instead of only having 2 weapon systems, now there's fucking 3. And now you have to send all of those weapons to the front lines, and the ammo, and the optics, and the fucking bullets, all that shit. Not good. Despite that, they still managed to crank out around 425,977 STGs before everything collapses in 1945. Side note, Hitler also committed self-die at that time. Now, if they had this in like 1940, who knows what would have happened? Well, actually, I know. They would have fucking nuked Berlin. So nearly every modern service rifle has at least a little bit of the STG-44 inside it. The AK swaps the tilting bolt for a rotating one and uses a long stroke gas piston that hits the carrier like your drunk uncle high-fiving your face at the family function. Totally different mechanisms aside, same 30-round banana mag, intermediate cartridge, select fire, gas operation, stamped receiver, eventually. America's, well, if we can make it lighter and use aluminum and plastic and argue about the gas system for 60 years, I think that'd be perfect. Instead of using a 7.62 or the 7.92, we use the 5.56. But it's the same thing. 30-round mag, select fire, same recipe, different seasonings. Then you have things like the FAL, the AUG, the G3, not direct copies, but all living in the conceptual neighborhood of the STG-44. So what the Americans thought about it. The Americans didn't like it. They thought it was too janky. 0 out of 10 wouldn't give it to the GIs. A U.S. intelligence report from 1945 basically says this. It's made of thin stamping that dents easily and can jam. Heats up fast, not great for sustained fire. So basically they suggested that if the American troops did pick it up during the war, and if it broke, just fucking toss it. Which is hilarious because of how the AR-15 and the AR platforms of today and the M16 are like so fucking similar to what the STG-44 was like, where they're like, hey, don't use that fucking piece of shit. But also at the same time, that piece of shit's actually not that bad of an idea. So we're going to take some of that, incorporated into our own rifles. And yet, the STG-44 keeps showing up in East Germany post-war, Yugoslavia, various Middle Eastern and African wars, and it also showed up in fucking Syria 80 years later. The STG is that bad, then how the fuck is it showing up 80 years later? Doesn't it kind of sound AK-ish? Anyway, that's the STG-44. Late to the party, lost the war, won the arm race. If you like to dive into German over-engineering, cursed attachments, don't hit that like button. Fuck that like button. Fuck that subscribe button. Don't do any of that bullshit. Just let me know what you think about it in the comments. Alright, I'll see you motherfuckers in the next one. Peace.